This is an Aston Martin Vantage. It's one of my favorite cars of all time. If you wanted to buy one, it costs $200,000. Some of you may recognize this car from here. Yes, 3 years ago, Lawrence Stroll, Aston Martin F1, announced a deal to make the Aston Martin Vantage the official safety car for Formula 1. 1 year later, in an interview with Business Insider, he said they'd sold an additional 400 units since the relationship started. That's an extra $80 million in top-line revenue. You see, F1 is unbelievable exposure. Up until recently, car companies lost money on the F1 teams, but made money in other areas of the business. If Aston Martin, a newly branded F1 team, made $80 million in revenue from one car, how much do you reckon these guys make? Or these guys? Or these guys? Yeah, the money in F1 is massive. With some astute business changes recently, it's big on the track, but it's often bigger off the track. So today, we're gonna dive in to just how much money these F1 teams really make. First though, some stats. And trust me, it wasn't always pretty for an F1 team historically. There's no better team to show this than another British F1 team, McLaren. Check this. Back in 2015, the numbers were bad. I dug deep into the McLaren company accounts and I can show you what life was like in the Bernie Ecclestone era. McLaren turnover in 2015, £180 million. McLaren's 2015 profit? Yeah, a loss, a pre-tax loss of £2.6 million. The valuation of a business in 2015, $650 million. Now, fast forward to 2023. McLaren's revenue, £431 million. The profits, $30.4 million. And the valuation today, more than $2 billion. You see, in 2016, Liberty Media changed everything. In my opinion, it's one of the greatest acquisitions in sports history. Not only have they made money themselves, they've also made these teams billions. My newsletter is growing faster than ever. For insights like these brought to your email inbox every week, click the link in the description below. Now, how much money are these teams really making? Well, to find out, let's look at the two things that Liberty Media did. They got to work really quickly. The first thing they did was launch a full-fledged digital assault. They allowed drivers to post on social media, something they weren't really allowed to do before. They tripled down on YouTube, adding highlights, race analysis, and behind the scenes online hours after the race is finished. And of course, they sanctioned the creation of Drive to Survive, one of the most impactful pieces of sporting IP ever. All of this massively increased the exposure of these teams and these drivers. And I'm going to show you the impact of that exposure very soon. The second thing they did was introduce a cost cap. Cost caps sound very American in nature, but they're very important for the financial success of Formula 1. Later on in this video, I'm going to show you the direct impact of these cost caps. The numbers are pretty staggering. But first, I mentioned exposure just a few moments ago. Look at this masterpiece. This is a Ferrari SF90 Stradale, a brand new hypercar from Ferrari. There's two versions of the car. A coupe, there were 799 units made of the coupe. And there's also a Spider. There were 599 units of the Spider. The coupe retails for £673,000. The Spider is a bit more. Within days of release, every single unit sold out. This generated almost £1 billion in top-line revenue for Ferrari. Not bad, huh? You see, the reason I'm telling you this is because the marketing of this car was led by this man, Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc has been the lead driver for Ferrari's F1 team for a number of seasons. Charles has not won the F1 Drivers' Championship, but Ferrari, being a beacon of excellence in the Formula 1 circuit, allows them to sell cars outside of the track. There is no one better to market this product right now than one of the best drivers in Formula 1. Ferrari are already an iconic brand, but the increased brand exposure thanks to the excellent work from Liberty Media just allow this to happen. It's the exact same for these guys. Mercedes play a slightly different game to Ferrari. Ferrari sell 13,000 cars a year. Mercedes sell over 2 million. But in 2016, Mercedes principal Toto Wolff said something really interesting. In the last season, we generated $3 billion in advertising value, meaning that is the sum that we would have to invest in TV and print advertising to achieve a similar result to our commitment in F1. Bear in mind, he said that at the beginning of 2016. They had already won 3 drivers and constructors championships in a row. That run didn't end there. We know what Mercedes did in the following years after Toto said that. 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. We know who won in 2021. So think of the brand value accrued by Mercedes after he said that quote. It's insane. And that is the power of Formula 1. So the first way in which Formula 1 teams really make money is the ability to sell products off the track. However, I mentioned before about the cost cap. Before we dive in, I'm always surprised by how many people watch these videos that are not subscribed to the channel. I know I sound like Stephen Bartlett right now. But if you've enjoyed this video and you made it this far, please consider subscribing. It helps me out way more than you think. Now, you might be thinking, how does a cost cap or a salary cap help an F1 team? Well, it's funny because before a cost cap was introduced, teams could spend whatever they want. And trust me, they were spending millions. However, a cost cap limits spending and keeps costs fairly consistent amongst every team. You see, if you're an investor, you would not want to invest in a business that has completely uncontrollable costs. You'd like to know that the asset that you're buying could not spend more than a certain amount. It makes forecasting much easier and it makes you much more comfortable knowing that your liabilities are limited. This is why most American leagues have some form of a cost cap. The MLS has a salary cap, the NBA has one, so does the NFL. The Formula One cost cap has some exceptions, but for the most part, costs are stabilized amongst every single team. Formula One is also a closed league. There's a limited number of teams. Getting access into those limited number of teams is very expensive and very hard to do. It mirrors the exact same in other American sports. The NBA, the NFL, the MLS, there's a limited number of teams and buying into those leagues costs a lot of money. This though creates scarcity. When you couple scarcity with the stabilized costs, it really helps valuations of your team skyrocket. And I'll bring back that graph I showed you earlier about McLaren. 2015 valuation, 2023 valuation. We can do the same for other teams. Ferrari, 2015 valuation, 2023 valuation. Red Bull, 2015 valuation, 2023 valuation. Mercedes, 2015 valuation, 2023 valuation. The valuations of these companies is big business, and some teams took advantage. Alpine are an F1 team. They are the F1 team for Renault, the car company. The valuation of the company at the time was $900 million, and they sold 24% to Otro Capital and a series of famous athletes. They raised a lot of money through that share sale, but that valuation was simply just not possible before Liberty Media took over and made some changes. The final way teams make money is again a result of this exposure that I keep going on about. I mean, look how many logos on these suits. No, seriously, look how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can go on. Sponsors are a massive part of any F1 team. If you look on the Ferrari website, you'll see a list of the sponsor roster. There's loads here. In fact, I counted. There's 40. The title sponsor is HP, and it's a massive deal. The value of the deal itself has not ever been revealed, but reports suggest the deal is worth up to $75 million a year. Similarly, Red Bull are cashing in too. Bybit have had some troubles recently, but in 2022, they signed a 3-year deal with Red Bull worth $150 million. At the time of recording this video, McLaren have Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri tied down as their designated drivers. I thought Ferrari having 40 sponsors was a lot. McLaren have 53. Ahead of the 2025 F1 season, they announced 5 new sponsors: Black & Decker, Smartsheet, Salesforce, Medallia, and Alteryx. Zach Brown, the McLaren boss, said, "We're in a great place commercially. We have the most amount of commercial revenue a racing team has ever had. Must be nice." Formula One has completely turned around. It's massive business and it's only getting bigger from here. From the 2026 season, General Motors will be the new F1 team on the track. They were paid a reported $450 million for access. You're probably thinking 2 questions. Why do they pay so much money? And 2, who do they pay that money to? Well, just think about this for a second. All of the central F1 sponsorship is currently divided amongst the teams. That pool of money is actually being diluted with the addition of an extra team. So that money gets split amongst the teams, making up the shortfall that General Motors are causing. But the second reason though, why are they investing that much money to get access to Formula One? Well, judging by what you've seen in this video, think about all the cars GM are going to sell with the F1 exposure. I'm Jordan. I love everything about Formula One. I'd love to interview team principals, drivers, even back office engineers, just about the inner workings of Formula One and how the finances and the business all work and all come together. If you're watching this and you can help me make it happen, email me. Let's chat. If you want to see a breakdown of the business empire of the greatest F1 driver of all time, click right here. It's one of the best videos I've ever made. But if you want to see a breakdown of a sport that's not doing so well, click right here. As always, thank you for watching.